Today we're talking about something a lot of women feel but don't always say out loud. Even when life is full with careers, family, and big transitions, friends can start to feel a little thinner and a little harder to keep up with. Dr. Suzanne Wallach, marriage and family therapist, is here to help us unpack why this happens. An important topic. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So why do friendships often feel harder to maintain in midlife, would you say?
So I think what happens is in midlife, women go into and men too, I think what I kind of call a compression stage, meaning we're often managing careers, we're raising children, some of us are launching children into adulthood, caring for aging parents, and often all at once. So our emotional bandwidth can get a lot lower than it is when we're younger and in our 20s. And also, I think our emotional availability becomes a lot smaller, and what we start to prioritize becomes, more about family and what's immediate and what's in front of us. And so a lot of times friendships in midlife start to feel different and start to feel more distant because we feel like friendships are secure and always there. So it's not that the friendships are any less strong than they were, it's just that the structure of them has changed.
It makes perfect sense. My friends and I were just talking about why are we so tired? We feel so tired now, and it's that emotional, right? Feeling and baggage and just what we can kind of carry too.
Exactly.
You might think too, I always think this, I'll call her later, schedule a phone date later, but then it's weeks, it's even months. What's actually happening here?
It's funny you bring that up. The other day my best friend was walking into therapy, and then 2 days later I texted her and I was like, are you still in therapy? I think part of it, I tell my own patients, is cognitive overload, right? The brain tends to only focus on what really needs to be done, especially when we're in burnout or we're overloaded, or, we have kids, we have work, we have to make dinner, we have to, get homework done, we have to take care of our own selves. So oftentimes we can put things off and think like, I'll call her later, or I'll get to that. And so we have to be very intentional with friendships to keep connection, because otherwise you can start to feel a disconnect and you can just forget to do things.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. And that idea of being intentional, like you are speaking about, it sounds empowering, but it also can give people some anxiety. What do we do?
So I think the first thing to remember is that, it can feel a little intimidating to try to be intentional, but I think being intentional is really just, if you replace that word with mindful. So just being more aware of what's happening. And also being intentional doesn't mean you have to confront someone. It's just being mindful that maybe I haven't spoken to this person in a couple weeks and I should just shoot them a quick text. Yeah. Or, being intentional about I'm noticing that my friendships are starting to fade, and I could make more friends by just picking up a hobby or talking to more people at work or just checking in on someone I haven't for a while. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to confront someone or you have to, it's just, I like to think of it as being more mindful of where our relationships are and reactivating our relationships.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know you don't have to feel, that anxiety or overwhelm, be more mindful, but what if you do feel like something's off and you want to know if you're okay? Is it okay to call someone and say, are we okay? Am I feeling this? Do you have any thoughts and advice for that? Because women in relationships, it can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely okay. What I suggest though is, instead of are we okay? Is something wrong? Is always just to make it an I statement. I miss our friendship. How are you? I haven't seen you in so long. Can we get together? Or just, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? I think that's a much better way to reconnect with somebody, because instead of them responding defensively, you're inquiring with curiosity, and it's a way to reconnect. So I always discourage people from asking, is something going on? Is something wrong? Are you mad at me? I think it's much better to approach with curiosity, because chances are they're just as busy as you.
Absolutely. People ask me all the time, because I use Marco Polo a lot, this app to stay connected with friends that don't live here. And, hey, I haven't heard from you in a couple days. Are you mad at me? And you're always then on the defense. Instead of, just if someone would ask hey, you're probably busy, just checking in how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that defensiveness then makes you feel like, yeah, what? Am I mad? Did you do something wrong?
Yeah, I think that question kind of annoys people sometimes. Like, no, I'm not mad. I'm just busy.
Exactly.
You know?
It is annoying. So I'm glad you brought that up. And so now just get curious in any kind of relationship. Thank you so much for being here. This was really insightful, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. And just get curious is the theme.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.